right, so what's up, everybody? This is Ruben Garcia, and this is a beautiful day. And today I have Jerome Bell Sr. with me today. And how you doing, brother?
I'm doing outstanding. Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So if you could tell everyone who you are, what you do, how you do it, and all that good jazz.
I'm Jerome N. Bell Sr. I have 4 children, 3 boys and a daughter. I just moved my daughter up here.
Oh,
and
okay.
So it's beautiful to be able to let her see me in action. I'm driving her to different houses.
Oh, cool.
I primarily
Get a little bit closer to the...
I primarily buy and hold. So for every 10 houses, I'll keep 6 and flip 4.
Oh,
so
okay.
I do both. Right now, I'm in the middle of finishing flip number 68.
Whoa.
And I got about 2 houses under contract.
Okay.
My goal is to try to do at least 3 more by the end of this year.
Gotcha.
I don't have a set number per year. It really depends on how fast one flip sells.
Right.
To pave the way for the next purchase of 1 or 2 more. But I started in November 3rd, 1997. So I'm getting ready to celebrate 21 years.
Dang,
as a real estate
congrats.
investor. I fell in love with real estate just looking for residual income. That's how it all got started.
Yeah.
That first flip, that first rental property.
So who invited you into that world of a residual income through real estate?
I'm a book reader. I read a book a week. Depending on the size of the book, of course.
Sure.
I might read more than one, or it might take me a month to finish the book.
Sure.
But I was always interested in history. So history, autobiographies, and biographies. Mm-hmm. And so since I was broke, I like to read about rich people. And
that makes sense.
If you read the autobiographies of people who came before us, and I didn't even care if they were famous or unknown.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they took the time to write about their life and were older than me, I knew I could learn from them.
Right.
We all have a story. And so that was my view. It didn't matter if it was a female Caucasian 64 who wrote a book about her life, or Hispanic and 26 and wrote a book about his life. We can learn from everybody. Mm-hmm. And so I always had an open mind. And every book on success, it doesn't even matter what their industry is. But when they got to talking about the money, real estate was a key factor.
Yeah.
So it didn't take long for me to figure out, if you want to become wealthy or sit at the table of wealth, you have to invest in real estate.
What was the book that shined the most to you? Since you were getting into that world, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were in that environment where not really anybody was talking about the things that the books were.
No internet yet.
right.
That's how old I am. No internet yet.
Yeah. But so you were surrounded by these books. Which one shined the most to you? Which one taught
As a
you the
man
most?
thinketh. As a man thinketh, so shall he become. So it's a quick book. It's a quick read. But for some reason, lightning struck when I read that book. The idea that whatever I think can come true, that concept was just the complete opposite of where I came from. I grew up in the projects. So I was surrounded by low-income individuals, not a lot of aspirations, not a lot of... We didn't discuss dreams and what we were going to be. It was pretty much... If you grew up in the projects, you was going to die in the projects. That was the mentality. And so reading was an escape route for me. I could travel to Europe through reading. I could travel to Italy through reading. I could travel wherever I wanted through books. So I knew another world existed. And so the autobiographies, the biographies, the history books, books on leadership, books on other cultures, just the constant reading created a hunger. As a man thinketh, gave me this idea that, so if I think that I can be more than what I am, I really can be. And so I became very, very introspective of who I am, where I want to be in 1 year, where do I want to be in 3 years, where do I want to be in 5 and 10. And so that book had a complete profound effect on me. It changed everything for me.
Once it started resonating with you, And it started really, because I get it, man. When I first started, I'm a late bloomer when it comes to reading. I mean, books, right? I could read before that, right? But as soon as I started opening up these books, you're right. I mean, you start to, you build how it looks in your own mind. I mean, everyone reads the same sentence, the same paragraph.
That's right.
But it's very individualized on how you see it to be.
Correct.
And once I started feeling the power of that, I was like, yep, not letting this go. Yeah. So as that started resonating with you, what was your first step? Because we know that it starts with a thought. The second thing is an action, though. So what was the next action you took? Since it started resonating, what was that action look like after really feeling that, oh my gosh, I can change my world?
It took hitting rock bottom because I was in the Marine Corps. So I was complacent and there was some fear. I was in the Marine Corps and I was a single parent. I got 4 children, but when I got divorced, the oldest one came with me. So there was this idea that I'm guaranteed to get paid on the 1st and 15th as long as I wear this uniform.
Right.
But if I take this uniform off, can I really, really make it? And so life has a way of pushing us. And I got pushed. I hit rock bottom. And I said, you know what? It doesn't matter if I try real estate investing at this point because I'm about to lose everything.
Yeah. Where else could I go?
Where else can I go? Right. So,
yeah.
It took life pushing me, and me making a decision to start the implementation, and I think reading all the books that I read, I want to make it clear. I don't just read them for the sake of reading.
Right.
I read and implement.
Sure.
So I think every book gives us something to help us tweak what we're doing or exposes us to something completely new. So it's like Automatic Millionaire, right? That book, just the simple idea of automating all of your income, automating all of your expenses.
Yeah.
That was like profound when I read that, because I was used to sitting down writing checks.
Yeah.
But the implementation came from getting beat up by life and just making a decision. I wasn't going to lay down and take what was given to me. I was going to regain control of what was happening to me.
How hard was that?
If you can get over yourself, you can do anything.
Yeah.
There really is no one else that you have to compete with. It's the person in the mirror.
Yeah.
So we all have fear, but it's a fake monster. It's not even real.
Yep.
We have all of these fake monsters in our heads, all of these what ifs. And so if you can figure out a way to get past yourself and be bigger than your situation, you can do anything. And that's what I'm constantly repeating to my children. They got all these excuses, and I tell them, hey, you got to be bigger than your situation if you want to succeed.
Yep. Got to get out of your own way.
That's it. Every time. Every time.
So you say that, some of these books can expose you. What did you feel it exposed in your world as you were reading some of those books? That wasn't so comfortable to expose. People, I think trying to conquer yourself is very, very difficult. And what you realize in trying to fight you is you have to examine the people around you, because they play a role as well. The hardest part for me was separating myself from negative people, because I was related to a lot of those people. And so when it's especially when it's family, we try to justify their negativity. We try to justify their habits. Yeah.
We try to justify, Ruben is like that all the time. Ruben talks like that to everybody. Oh, that's just Ruben. But if Ruben is a negative individual and he's not helping you succeed, he's not trying to empower you, regardless of the title, friend, cousin, uncle, brother, regardless of the title, you gotta separate yourself from negativity in any form. Yeah. And so the hardest part was just analyzing family, analyzing the people that I called friends, and then just asking myself a question. I was a day trader, before I got into real estate.
Oh yeah.
And so when I found this book on imbalanced relationships, right? Remove all imbalanced relationships. I told myself, who's helping increase my stock price? I changed it to conceptualize my life experience at the time as a day trader.
Yeah.
So I would say, okay, is Ruben helping my stock or is he diminishing my value? And then if Ruben is diminishing my value and I want to keep him in my life, okay, let me go sit down with Ruben and have a conversation with him. Because some people you don't need to save. You just got to recognize the imbalanced relationship and let them go. But there are a few that you don't want to give up on. You want to talk to them. You want to give them a chance. You want to try to bring them with you. And so those are the ones you sit down, you have a man-to-man, a woman-to-woman, man-to-woman conversation with and say, hey, listen, this is where I'm going. I want you to come with me. But there are some things you're doing that I want you to change for the sake of our relationship. I'm not trying to change you as a man, as a person, but I want to bring something to your attention that I think if you work on for our relationship, it could actually help you in the long run with everyone else. And so I had a few of those conversations. Some of them, I mean, said, F you, Jerome, got up and walked off. Some listened. And so that was an experience within itself. But imbalanced relationships. You do recognizing them and then taking action to remove them is very difficult.
Because I think, I mean, you're right. That inside dialogue that we have with ourselves for so long when we're kids to when we reach adulthood, right? And we've always told, they're always like that.
That's
and
right.
You're right. And it's, you know, it becomes natural. It becomes part of the scene, part of the environment. It's just there. It's like grass. It's on my lawn. So you have to identify that and bring it up and talk about it, and especially for the good for yourself and for them. And there's a simple math to this. I had one guy tell me it's all math, right? So if you have people that are dividing your life, let them go. Like you said, those are the people you just have to let go, even if they're family.
That's right.
If they're subtracting from your life, you need to sit down and talk with them because you'd like for them to add to your life.
That's right.
Now, if they stay in that subtraction quadrant, they drop down to division, right?
Right.
Sorry, man, you're gone. You always want people who add to your life.
That's right. That's right.
Always want people who add to your life. They're always you're patting you on the back and just saying how great you're doing and believe in you and stuff. Now, the power comes from the multipliers.
That's right.
Now, when you surround yourself with people who are multiplying their life, that is when your whole world changes.
That's right.
And you break everyone down in these quadrants and you put their name in it. And then you have to, for those people who are subtracting from you, you have to look at their name and you have to have that conversation with them because you want them to be in that plus quadrant, right? But if not,
I got a great book for you. Stephen Covey, First Things First. Organize your mind, organize your spirit, organize your environment. Right?
Right.
So he has something that I love to talk about this chapter. He says, take out your cell phone, write down all your contacts in your phone on a sheet of paper. You're going to ask yourself one question. If I lost everything and showed up at that person's doorstep with just the clothes on my back and ID in my pocket, no money, and I said, listen, I just lost everything. I need a place to stay to get back on my feet. Will you allow me in? If you know for a fact that person will say yes, keep that name. If you know for a fact that person will say no, cross that name out. Remove them, cross their name out, delete them from your phone. That's not a friend. So then when you ask that question and you get through the list, the remaining names that are still on the list, reverse it. If Ruben showed up at my house with just his ID card and the clothes on his back, would I allow him into my home and knowing he doesn't have any money, knowing he can't pay me, and allow him to get on my feet? So the way we want to be treated and the way we know we will treat people, those are the real friends. And according to Stephen Covey, when you finish doing that, those 3 or 4 names left, because you might have 600 contacts. Those aren't all friends. But those remaining names on that list, you ask those 2 questions. those are the people you hold on to.
Yeah. No, that's serious. And then you got those contacts in your phone that say like Home Depot because you met someone at Home Depot. You don't even know who this person is. But no, that's a cool way to do it, man. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious on. I wonder if because I have a lot of people on my phone, but it's mainly there to know who's calling me, not necessarily that I'm touching base with you.
The concept of that chapter was who do we call a friend? Who do we call a friend?
Yeah, yeah, and that's going to be tough for people to look at that name and say, they've always been like that. No. That's the time you scratch that or delete them, right? So that's so important. All right, so let's go to some of your investing. Okay, right? Great. So it sounds like you started a day trade. Was that your first taste of investing?
Yes.
So what did you day trade?
Stocks.
And did you mess with futures or just straight?
Just stocks. Just stocks and bonds.
Gotcha. Okay. Are you still in that game?
No, I fell in love with this girl called real estate.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
She is.
Great heart, great mind.
She is. And she pays better.
She does. And she keeps paying. She ain't even around.
That's right.
Okay, so, okay. I guess, what about that world? What were you investing in when you were in that?
So I started day trading in 1994.
Okay.
I got introduced to the stock market through a college girlfriend, actually, and fell in love with it. And my undergraduate degree is business administration.
Okay.
I had to take a finance class. I really was educational genius. I mean, I breezed through high school. Yeah. And so when I got to college, finance was the first class that ever challenged me. And the fact that it was so hard. Yeah. All of the concepts, all of the formulas. That was a tough class, but I loved it.
Right.
So I mean, you think
because it was challenging you.
It made me think. It was the first time where it wasn't easy. I mean, I literally would sleep through geometry, wake up and ace. Yeah. Like perfect, whatever the exam was. And it just blew people away that I could do that. Yeah. So most of my classes were like that. So to get to college and finally have a class that I couldn't just breeze through, made me want it even more. Mm-hmm. And so finance, was all about the stock market. Corporate finance is the actual name of the class, but it was all about the stock market, how corporations make money, how corporations invest. And so we started out with a dummy stock portfolio in class, and we monitored this portfolio throughout the semester.
Was it companies the instructor gave you?
No, we picked.
Live?
Live, correct.
Oh, okay.
And so he divided us up into groups, and then we each, as individual members, we each got to pick 2 companies to invest in. And so we followed these stocks over the course of a semester. And maybe halfway through the semester, I was like, I got access to some money. Yeah. Our portfolio is doing very well. Yeah. I want to do this for real. Yeah. And so that's how it started. This dummy portfolio, I turned it into a real portfolio. And I was in front of the computer for about 4 hours a day. Yeah. And moving money around.
I wonder could that be practice for anybody at home just to make a dummy portfolio? See how well they do in the market.
There are multiple websites that will allow you to put together a dummy portfolio. Multiple. Mm-hmm. You can even do a dummy portfolio on your cell phone. I have an Apple, so I mean, I'm sure Android's the same way, but you can put together a dummy portfolio on your cell phone.
Way over here, and notice I had an Android. That was good. Let me guess, you invested in Apple? What did you invest in when you were?
Well, it was during the .com boom.
Okay.
So I invested in a lot of websites. They were all internet companies, but one of my biggest hits was Sirius. I invested in Sirius when it was a penny stock.
Yeah. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
What attracted? Why?
The concept of the direction of the auto industry to satellite radio. Something about that was like, yeah, that makes sense. And
yeah, cool. What else?
Energy stocks. I did very well with light companies. There was a new light company that was getting established in California.
Yeah.
Read the comments. Also, now that we're talking about stocks, a lot of people don't know this. Every corporation has a investor department that specifically caters to investors.
Okay.
So right now, if you can pick any company you want.
Right.
If you called them and said, I'm thinking about investing in your stock, I'd like to come out and spend a day and take part in an investor orientation. When can I come in? A lot of people don't know they actually have programs for you to come to the company. They will walk you through the company, introduce you to key figures, and then sit you down and go over financials. They do that for anybody, especially people who say that they're thinking about investing in their stock. That's something like every corporation does.
Is there a cutoff?
No, not at all.
Well, because I guess it's a group setting, correct?
Correct.
So come to this slot where we have.
You got it.
The bottom of your page, it says investor relations, right?
That's right. Yeah. There was some companies that were up and coming out of Florida. I went to some of their weekend investor programs. They put you up in the room. They feed you. Yeah.
Okay. Might have to get them on the podcast.
It was really, really cool. So, I mean, and of course, I would have never known that if I wasn't a day trader. Right. So it was getting exposed to the corporate side of investor relations was really, really cool.
Do you look at not play in, but do you look at any stocks now? Anything that it kind of goes across your phone?
So last year, well, let's say 2 years ago, my portfolio was 100% stocks. Now it's 80% real estate, 20% stocks.
Right.
Yeah. So did I say that right? 2 years ago it was 100% real estate. Now it's 80% real estate, 20% stocks.
Oh, she started moving back into the stock game.
Marijuana is the future of this country. So to not be invested in marijuana is a bad move. You got to get in right now and wait. I'm not investing with the day trader mentality. I'm thinking long term. So you get in early with the marijuana stocks, sit on it 10, 20 years. That's your 2, 3, 5 million retirement right there.
Right. Yeah. And it's cool because, I mean, we all know it is, right? And it's still taboo for some people to chat about. However, you do see these businesses popping up that are hemp shops, and they're coming up out of nowhere. And you're like, I get your long game because you start hemp, you start building, basically you bring attention to you within the community that this is the hemp place.
That's right.
And as soon as, like you said, marijuana starts moving in, I know where to go. This place has been hemp place for so long.
That's right.
They're already building in these cornerstone businesses to, once it rolls in, they're ready to push.
2 years, there are investor conferences that I go to. They're all over the nation, but I go to 2 a year. And last year, the investor conference, the major thing was marijuana, but on a real estate side. So there's a company out of Nevada that's going to states early, buying up land simply for growth opportunities to build these large greenhouses to grow the marijuana for distribution to the state when they start selling.
Yeah.
And they're selling to the state specifically for medical purposes.
Yeah.
So it's there's still real estate opportunity.
Yeah.
If you don't want to invest directly in marijuana. Sure. And then of course there are marijuana specific opportunities. Yeah.
So it's funny you bring that up. I'm actually working with an agent right now who's looking at that opportunity. Not in Fayetteville, but bumps up to Fayetteville.
Right.
Do you think, and this has got me thinking, when you're driving in the country and you see a tobacco field, right? And I mean, I can jump out the car, grab a few leaves and put it in my trunk, like if I wanted to. Do you think that in the future, because when I think marijuana farm, I'm thinking security, right? Because I just see people that just want to grab it up.
Correct.
Do you think that, let's fast forward 30, 40, 50, maybe even longer, that you might just see it like you're riding down the country like a tobacco? No. It's just too much.
the webinar, well, the presentation that I attended, it was very, very detailed.
Yeah.
Marijuana plants need constant care. That's why they're grown in facilities.
Okay.
And these facilities have a lot of security. So it's never going to be open to the public. Now, you probably could have it in your backyard.
Sure.
But the way we see tobacco, it's never going to be like that because you need you need those greenhouses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So also during those meetings that you were going to, was there also a breakdown on who may be getting those contracts for security? Right? Because couldn't you invest into the security that's going to be protecting the plant?
Smart man. I didn't even think about that. I only looked at it from the real estate perspective and distribution perspective. I didn't think about the security.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Especially if we know that that's going to be a thing.
Especially it's going to be beginning. It's going to be a thing.
Yeah. 100%.
It's already a thing.
Yeah. So that's interesting to look into
October 1st, marijuana goes countrywide and legally in Canada. That's the next big date, October 1st. Yes.
Guys, if you're listening to this, you better move your money. Better move it. So, and this may be small thinking. Are the stocks that you're looking at, are you looking for dividend stocks in the marijuana, or just knowing that's going to buy? It's basically a buy and hold, and I will get my return.
I don't even think there are any dividend stocks that I'm aware of in marijuana.
Yeah.
They're
probably reinvesting in everything right now.
Long-term plays.
Yeah.
All of them are long-term plays.
Okay. So is that if you look at your stock portfolio, that is majority?
It's only marijuana. Only marijuana right now. Only marijuana.
If you did have an extra few bucks, what company would you invest in that you see right now? And I mean a couple, meaning like a lot.
It's actually, they're all on my phone. I actually can give you some names off of my phone, but this is how I look at it. So 2 years ago, these companies to give you an idea, 2 years ago, I'm in the room and the narrator comes out and says, right now there is over $100 billion in the room that you're sitting in. There were 400 attendees. 5 of them were billionaires. And then he said the average person in the room had a net worth of $50 million. I wasn't one of those.
You were 49.
I was not one of those. But these people are so smart. So when they say marijuana investing is the thing, and then they back it up with numbers and numbers and numbers and numbers and legislation. I mean, the money they paid for this research, I don't have to overthink it. If this is where they're putting their money, I want to put my money in the same place.
Right. Mm-hmm. How else could you monetize this? For you, because if you're dipping your, if you're going to all these conferences, could you build a blog of where you're going, now this might take,
easy,
easy,
because the next I could forward you the email when I get to my office. The next major meeting is in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
All of the devastation from Hurricane Maria, they're putting together these real estate packages to buy up these all of these homes that were damaged.
Right.
Land. There are $1 million penthouses right now in Puerto Rico that are selling for $350,000.
Yeah.
And so what they're looking for is they don't want to wait for the government.
Sure.
So they're looking at investors saying, hey, invest now, and 10 years later, this is what Puerto Rico is going to look like.
Yeah.
So again, I'm looking at the amount of money being paid for research that I can't afford to have. Right. But we're in the room with billionaires. We're in the room with an average net worth of $50 million. I go where they go.
Yeah.
And so there was 2 things that was heavily exemplified. Marijuana investing was one. Private lending was the other. So I immediately became a private lender and I started investing in marijuana. Their average returns yearly is 24% plus average. And so why I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. And that goes back to all the books I read.
Right.
I want to learn from other people's mistakes. I want to learn from other people's lives. so that when my time comes, we walk so many of the same circles.
Yeah.
When my time comes, I will know how to adjust to specific situations. I can look back and say, okay, this is what Ruben did.
Yeah.
And Ruben said, don't do this, do this.
And it worked out.
And it worked out. Right. That's right.
Right. Might be a play I want to follow.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we went to the Puerto Rico conference together, you definitely could blog that experience. And then once there, you can get connected in that network. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, they have probably a meeting every 3 months. I only attend 2 a year.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Huh. It's interesting. And I trust that the agent that I'm working with is going to listen to this, and it's just going to amp her up and to move forward. I love that. And I'm kind of excited to go back and look at that. And I knew it. I just didn't. I just never moved forward with it. And not good or bad, just never moved forward with it.
It meaning
marijuana. Yeah,
gotcha.
marijuana stop.
I'm making sure.
Because you know that's going to happen.
Of course.
But
Of course.
For whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So let's go to, what was your first real estate investment? Was it buy and hold, flip?
Flip. I made $92,000 my first flip. And
was that here in Fayetteville?
Florida.
I
got bit by the bug of success. And when you get bit like that, you automatically think every flip is going to be like this because the first one was. And of course, it took almost, I think, 11 years before I made that much money on another one.
Yeah.
On average. First of all, I won't even flip a house if I'm not going to net 40 grand.
Right.
You have to have, I say, patience, a plan, and small bites of progress.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is set goals, not dreams.
Right.
So too many times people ask me to be their mentor. And I say, okay, what's the first goal you have? I want $100 million. No. You can dream about $100 million. Sure. That's a dream. Let's set a edible goal. And what I mean by edible goal, it should be something that you can achieve. Mm-hmm. Not too easy, but achievable.
Right.
So let's make the first goal making 10 grand in 1 month. That was my goal. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I just wanted to make 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
When I did that, then I bumped it up to 50 grand. Mm-hmm. When I did that, then I bumped it up to 75. It gotta be patience, a plan, small bites of progress.
Yeah.
So,
do you think that kicks so many people out of the investment game because they're not pleased with the gradual?
No. Why so many people drop out? They don't have a plan. Number one, undisciplined. Number two, you need discipline to be successful at this. Discipline means when I made the 92 grand, yeah, I had bills. I didn't pay any of them. I sat back because of all the books.
Right.
A lot of the elder people who had these autobiographies, most of them said, when I made that first 100,000, I wish I didn't spend it. I remember that.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, now I'm in a position where I done read all these life stories. Mm-hmm. I got my first 100 grand. I'm not going to spend it. So that's where the power of reading comes from.
Yeah.
So I immediately took the 92, went back to the loan officer that I met and said, how many houses can I buy with $92,000? And back then we're talking, Nina. No income, no asset loans. We're talking stated income. We're talking, the banks were happy to just give you as much money as you wanted. Yeah. So he was like, you can buy with your credit. We can do 5 at a time. We can do 8 at a time. So I had the right person on my team. And so it was a matter of, to me, the best lesson pertaining to money that I learned was your money needs to make money before you spend.
Sure.
And I live by that philosophy. I live by that every day.
Right.
Before I spend anything, that money needs to make more money. Mm-hmm. And so for every dollar, I want to make $1.24, 24% return on my dollar. Mm-hmm. That 24%, when you see me shopping at the mall, I'm spending that 24%.
Right.
That 24%.
Yeah.
I'm not spending the dollar.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
So discipline, a lack of discipline and a lack of a plan. They just want to do it because they saw you do it. You made it look easy.
Yeah.
HGTV made it look easy. Anybody could do this. And then when they actually jump in the ring and they start taking punches, they hurry up and kick the gloves off and they take off running.
Right. You know what's interesting, something that you said is that when you learn through the books that once they made their $100,000, they wish they would have never spent the $100,000. And so many people get bent up, at least that I've seen, get bent up over a $13, $15, $25 plus book. Right? I'm not buying that book because it's at this cost. Or sign up to Audible. No, that's $15 a month for an idea. And it's like that. If you would have spent $50,000 out of the $100,000, that book just saved you $50,000.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's just interesting that, but that's the difference between small-minded and thinking big and thinking opportunity and thinking what's else, right? So it's just cool that you said that.
One of my sons, I told him, and I mean, I just said, you need to go get this book. Really? I mean, I would have bought him the book, but I said, you need to go get this book. And he said, oh, Dad, I don't have any money. And I looked at him and I said, there's a place called a library. Books are free there.
Yep.
Why was your first response, I don't have? It's a damn library. It's free.
Yep. That's true.
Think. Just because someone says, go get this book, or you should read this book, don't automatically think about what you don't have. Figure out a way that you can get that book.
Right.
Let's start with the library.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you don't know. Because, I mean, imagine you go to the library, you pick out that investment book. Right next to you, someone did the same.
That's right.
Man, that could be a partnership, a network, a mastermind on.
But I think that response. I'm very big on how people talk to me, how they talk to themselves. I really, really pay attention.
Yep.
And I think to become a millionaire, it's the 1%. I mean, it takes a special breed of person. It really, really does.
Yep.
And so, it all goes back to that discipline, but you gotta be constantly trying to think, how can I gain, not what I don't have.
Right.
So I would never tell myself I don't have. I'm always trying to figure out how to get it, because I'm going to get it.
Yeah, because there's and listen, if the mass is saying that, that's an opportunity, right?
That's right. That's what I think. What I think.
All right. So to go, and we're going to rewind again. I keep rewinding. Going back to those first few flips, what was that like? What were some of the struggles that you had?
There was no RIA when in 1997 when I started. All I had was some books.
In the books, yeah.
So the fact that the first one was so successful really hurt me, actually, because I thought I was the bomb. Right. I thought I was the man.
I bet closing day, your chest was like, boom, boom.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and so there was some arrogance. I will use that word. There was some arrogance there. My ego got inflated, but I couldn't copy that. And so that I got frustrated. And then, but it was a good thing because the frustration led to buy and hold. And I started out with a very simple concept, which was not mine. I read it in a book, but the first rental property I made, I house hacked. I went and bought a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. My mortgage was literally like $330. I rented out the other room.
Is that here in Fayetteville?
Florida. I rented out another room, plus half of the utilities. So I charged $750 for the room, plus I had to pay half of the utilities. So again, reading somebody else's story, I said, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so I created this way where I was living for free. And then I assigned every bill that I had to a rental property. So house A paid the car note and car insurance. The second house B paid my cell phone bill. C paid, and I just kept doing that until I ran out of bills. And now I'm in a position where I'm serving in the Marine Corps and I can keep my whole paycheck.
Right.
Because the rental property was paying for my entire lifestyle.
Right.
So once I got in that position, I knew I could take the uniform off without being so scared.
Sure.
How am I going to continue to feed my son? Because that was the greatest concern. I didn't want to interrupt his quality of life.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. So you say the frustration kind of led to buy and hold.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? How did that look when you first tasted buy and hold, cash that just kind of comes in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what was that feeling? How did that feel? Were there any challenges to get there? Talk to me about what that looked like.
I didn't know how to appreciate it because I really didn't understand how powerful what I was doing really was. Right. I was basically reading a book and then duplicating what this guy said.
Right.
And it wasn't until I do apologize because I read so many books. Sometimes I forget what book said what.
Right.
But there was a real estate investor who, it was my first time reading this. He said, you have to have a investment formula. And I was like, what? I'm just doing things. Right. I didn't have a formula.
Right.
And so I read his perspective on an investment formula. And basically what he was saying was, if you have to leave your home and drive around to find a house, you're doing this wrong. I was like, what? And so he spelled out his formula and he said, you gotta come up with a formula that works for you. Mm-hmm. So what I learned from reading that book was I was unstructured. So I was calling myself a real estate investor, but I wasn't operating with a philosophy. I wasn't operating with vision. I didn't really have any goals. I was just doing whatever. Mm-hmm. If something popped up, if it said foreclosure, I just wanted it.
Right.
I didn't know metrics yet.
Sure.
I was just going through the motions.
Right.
I knew I was on the right path because all these people said get into real estate from the books I was reading.
Right.
So I knew I was on the right path, but I was operating without metrics.
Yeah.
Once I discovered metrics, that's when I found efficiency. That's when I became more productive.
Right.
That's when I became more concise and stopped flipping whatever and say, you know what? Now that I know how to analyze, if I know for a fact I'm not going to net 40 grand, I'm not getting out of my chair to go look at the house. It doesn't even make sense.
Sure. So that's when that discipline comes in, right?
That's where the discipline comes in. So once I actually learned metrics and started operating with an investment formula, that's when I started appreciating what I was doing.
What does that metric look like? If someone's sitting down, they got their pen ready, they heard you, they're excited, their hands shaking, they're just ready to write down this formula. What would that formula be? Kind of, if you can, dumb it down just a little bit for someone to listen and understand.
So you find a house. Let's say the house costs 20 grand.
Okay.
You do the after repair value. It's 100 grand.
Okay.
So now.
So after repair value meaning?
After repair, what it's going to be worth after you rehab that home.
Gotcha.
It's 20 grand in foreclosure. After repair value is $100,000. So you got an $80,000 spread. So now you have to figure out what's going to be my rehab costs. What are you prepared to spend?
Right.
And that's important because you don't ever want to take on a project that you know you can't handle.
Sure.
For whatever reason.
Right.
It's more money than you want to spend.
Right.
You don't have the team to back you on it.
Right.
You don't have a project manager or a supervisor that's going to be out there on a daily basis.
Right.
So time constraints, there could be a lot of reasons.
Sure.
But, excuse me. The thing is, let's say the rehab is 40 grand.
Okay.
40,000. So it costs 20. Rehab is 40,000. 100 grand after repair value, 100,000 minus 40 minus 20. You have a $40,000 potential net on that property. If your investment formula says that you need to net at least 30 grand, then it just qualified.
Right.
Okay. It just qualified. But you gotta be comfortable with the rehab budget and project. What does that budget pertain to?
Yeah.
Are we moving walls?
Right.
Are we doing an addition?
Sure.
Or we just going in there and throwing some paint on the wall, some new floor, some new appliances? So you got to be comfortable at your level, or at least have someone on your team that has the experience to do what you haven't done before.
Yeah. So
just real quick, after repair value minus rehab minus purchase price, are you comfortable with that number?
Mm-hmm. So first, before I go there, you said 20 grand. How do I get 20 grand? I only have $500 in my bank account, but I want to invest. How do I get 20 grand? What does that look like?
I love that question, because I tried and I did everything on my own.
Right.
And so if I didn't have the money, I waited until I had the money. That was a horrible mistake.
Well, you can't have, look, Dave Ramsey says, no, go ahead.
So, I mean, one lesson from someone, myself, who's been doing this for 21 years, partner with other people as fast as you can. Quit being scared of splitting a pie. Mm-hmm. And that's all it is. It's just greed. It's ego and greed. Quit being scared of splitting the pie.
Agreed.
And partner with other people. So I might only have 500, but you might have 5,000, and then somebody else might have 10. Then somebody else might have that balance, and we all get together and we make it happen. So don't be scared to partner with people. And then private lenders. I got introduced to private lenders only maybe 4 years ago. So it's still somewhat new to me.
Right.
But private lenders are everywhere.
Yeah.
So you got hard money lenders, you got private lenders, call it what you want to call it. Anyone that's willing to give you some money to benefit yourself, quit worrying about the damn interest rate. Let me please say that, because I hear way too many times people crying about double-digit interest rates. Who gives a damn? You're broke, and you found someone that's willing to give you $50,000 and they're going to charge you 12% and you're crying?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Well, and how good is that for the private lender or the hard money, like you said, whatever you want to call it? And they present 12% and someone says, that's too high. Like, what a great filter.
Correct.
To know who not only would pull the trigger on something like that, but the mindset that you're going to be quote unquote partnering with through that. So no, yeah, I would love to keep a higher interest rate just to weed out the ones who are faking it.
Correct. But the bigger problem is they're trying to compare it with limited knowledge of interest rates. They're trying to compare
3.5.
They're trying to compare it to a principal residence interest rate.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a home you live in. Right. Therefore, the risk is greater that you're going to walk away. Therefore, double-digit interest rates.
Yep. Agreed.
It makes perfect sense on a grand scale. And if you look at opportunity, how much at the end of the day, when you sell that home, are you going to make?
Right.
Who gives a damn about 12%?
Right.
18%, 16%. Who cares?
Right. And if you know that that's going to be, let's say 18 is the high end, couldn't you just roll that into the formula and just ensure that you're still going to net X amount? Even with the 18, you find a 12%, you're like, sold.
Find a way to cut costs somewhere else.
Right.
That's what I say.
Right.
So if you got a private lender that's willing to give you the money, but you don't like the rate, so what? You don't have any money, number one.
Right.
Use it as much as you can to get out as much as you can until you don't need it anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, if I would have found private lending sooner, I would have made my first million a lot sooner.
So what should someone look out for? Now they search, there's something they want to get involved in. They've asked their friends were like, dude, there's no way I'm going to give you money. Family, everyone says no, which, okay, let's just move past that. And now they would look into private lending. What should be something they look like need to stay clear away from? They run into a few people, they call them. What are some telltale signs we should stay away from?
I think you should stay away from flipping if it's your first time getting in this business. For my mentees, I tell all of them, let's start with buy and hold.
Yeah.
You need to learn this business. And I don't care how many HGTV hours you binged.
Yeah.
You still don't know how to flip a house.
Right.
So walk in. You're not going to allow someone to put on a doctor's jacket and say, let me operate.
Yep.
That's what you're doing when you say, "Oh, I can flip a house." You're saying you don't need any training, you don't need any education, you just know how to do it because that makes no sense.
Right.
Let's crawl with a rental hold.
Yeah.
First, let's go to some trio meetings. Let's do some one-on-one. Let's read some books.
Right.
But I think make the commitment, the dedication, and time of learn first. What does it mean to flip a house before you jump out there?
Sure.
So I mean, with private lenders, you can grab up a bunch of rental properties, get the rental property at the right price using a private lender's money. Most companies you only need 30 days of seasoning, 30 days of ownership. Then you can refi out of that double-digit interest rate to something smaller. So let's rack up some rental homes first and then move toward the flipping of the home. So I say education. It's not as easy as you think it is. So let's take some patience. Remember, patience, a plan, edible progress.
Right. That makes sense. So
I don't think my point is, I don't think you have to look out for the private lender. I think you got to look out for you.
Yeah, no doubt. That makes sense. You're right. So they're starting to experiment with this, and what should they be looking for in their first buy and hold? Like location, what kind of bed, like what would be your perfect buy and hold right now?
I don't buy anything less than 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay.
So it can have more bedrooms, but it can't have less than 3.
Right.
It can have more bathrooms, but it can't have less than 2.
Right.
Always find out what are the top 3 school districts where you live at. Every person, every couple I ever met that has a child, the first question they're going to ask is, how is the school district? I mean, first and foremost. And if you can answer by saying, oh, this house is in the number 1 school district, or this is the number 2, it's in the number 2 school district. But you should be able to answer that question with some confidence.
Right.
That's very, very important because people are, yes, they want a nice house, but they're more concerned with where their kids getting educated.
Right.
So if you focus on the top 3 schools where you live at, that's going to help you with the rental.
Yeah.
Getting that home rented and keeping it rented. Secondly, you want the least amount of repairs possible. So when I buy a rental property, I'm trying to keep my rehab budget under 20 grand. And if it's under 20 grand, that means it's nothing structural. Right. We're talking, cosmetics, some paint, some new floor, some appliances. All of my rental property have granite countertops. I know some, and I want to say this, a lot of investors try to distinguish how they complete their homes. They spend more money on their flips, more inferior products in their rentals. I totally disagree. If you're going to be an investor, you're going to become a brand. So I believe Jerome Bell is a brand. I believe Rajj Investment Properties is a brand. And I don't want to differ between my rental properties and my flips. So both are amazing. Sure. Because I am a brand and I advocate that. I really do to everyone. Don't do one cheaper than the other. Yeah. But if you keep the budget under 20 grand, then we're talking paint, new flooring, granite countertops, all stainless steel appliances. And you want to do better than construction grade. Construction grade is just a cool way of saying as cheap as possible. You don't want that in your homes. Go a step above construction grade and give your houses some character. Right. And you can do that for less than 20 grand. Right. And I want at least 30 grand in equity in all of my rental property because I want some elbow room to refi when I'm ready. Sure. And I want to buy it at a good price. Yeah. So I never buy retail. I only buy foreclosure. I only buy short sales. And so 3-bedroom, 2-bath or more, rehab budget less than 20 grand. And I wanted to have at least 30 grand in equity. That's my keys for buying rental property.
Yeah. So a few things that I heard too as well is, not going cheap on some of that material. And I think that shows 2+ things, but 2 things I've recognized is that, if you're looking at the small term, these are where the people are buying super cheap, knowing that you're going to have to replace that in a few years. But if you go ahead and upgrade how it should be, you should be in a good place for a long, long time, especially with granite countertops, and then plus that, would you agree that when you start uplifting a rental like that, if you believe everything's energy, then you start attracting that type of clientele that you want in your rental properties anyways.
My average tenant stays with me 8 years.
Dang.
They don't
We're
want...
evicting someone this week.
they do not want to leave. And
Wow.
and they're willing to pay the premium.
Yeah,
So I could show you some of my houses right now. The entire neighborhood, the highest rent is $650.
Right.
I'm getting $900
Right.
because it's a Jerome Bell house.
Right.
I have a waiting list of people who only want to rent from me because they know my product. They've seen it. They know they can't get it anywhere else.
Right.
And they're willing to wait for me.
Yeah.
I'm a brand. And I think that if you treat your business as a brand, you can be that much more successful.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, what's really, really cool, sometimes I go 3 to 5 years without one repair.
Right.
Everything's new.
Oh, everything. And nice.
Everything's new.
Right.
I believe in home inspections.
Right.
And you would be surprised at how cheap investors can be.
Yeah.
Or ego. They think they can just walk in a house and see everything. Spend the $300 for the home inspection. I got a 3,600 square foot home, custom build, foreclosure. I'm buying it from a probate attorney. After repair value is $315,000. I'm getting it for $80,000.
Baller. I love you laughing at that.
And the first thing I did after I wrote the contract, I got a home inspection. A home inspection.
Yep.
Cost me $500 because of the size of the house. But guess what? I took that home inspection. I sat down with my contractor.
Yeah.
The project manager of my flips. And we came up with a budget. $60,000 is what it's going to cost me. Plus the 80, I'm going to put it on the market for $315.
Yeah.
This is going to be my biggest net profit on any flip up until now. When the smoke clears. Yes, I'm going to flip it.
Because in that price range is not, I guess the absorption rate for rentals in that price range is a lot lower. What's the... Now, obviously, the net is attractive.
Very attractive.
Very attractive. Is that besides that, is that the one thing, though, or that's kind of keeping you away from the buy and hold? Or are you following that formula where you say, every 6? Is that kind of where you're at?
No. Very rarely do I have a flip that's going to net me 6 figures.
Right.
So, I mean, this is just a beautiful opportunity all the way around.
Sure.
I mean, the fact that I'm so well known that probate attorneys call me with deals like this, that says a lot too.
Yeah.
Within itself. But I mean, the numbers, it's an executive, it's a custom build. It's an amazing home.
Right.
And so I know it's not going to last long when I put that sign in the yard.
Gotcha. Well, great job.
Yeah.
And great job for building a brand where, the probate attorney calls you, that you're easy to work with and he knows you're going to do it the right way. And because obviously we're on the other side of that, his name's somewhere attached to that.
That's
or him
right.
or her. So so congratulations on that, really, which is going to bring more.
That's right.
More of these that come. So I kind of want to back up just a little bit. What about garages? I know I talked to some investors where it is a deal breaker if it doesn't have a 1-2 plus garage, not even carport. Are you in that same realm or?
No, I disagree.
Yeah. Why is that?
There's an opportunity in everything.
Sure.
People like quality and they like space. I have 2 homes right now specifically that rent above average market rent. Neither one of them have a garage.
Gotcha.
But when you walk inside of that house,
right,
you see the value.
Right.
So I disagree, but I understand you have to give them something for not having a garage. So when you walk in my house with no garage, I got recessed lighting in the living room, the kitchen, the master. I got the granite countertops everywhere. Right. I got the stainless steel appliances.
They're not even thinking about it.
They're not even, they done forgot once they walk in that house what they don't have outside.
Park in the kitchen.
Right.
It's too nice.
So you got to make up for that in some way.
Right. That makes sense.
I do not use construction grade anything. I actually tell you a secret. There's a light fixture company out of Rayford, had the most beautiful lighting I've ever seen. And it's what I use for all of my rental property and my flips.
Where's so awesome, because money's, I mean, not in Fayetteville. It is Rayford's connected to Fayetteville.
Definitely.
That's cool that it goes back into the community. How many of your buy and holds are here in Fayetteville?
All of them now.
Really? With
the exception of one. One is in Spring Lake, one is in Rayford. Okay. And the remainder are Fayetteville and Hope Mills. I mean, that's same county, Cumberland County.
Yeah, right. So for people that, you know, you hear Fayetteville and there's no place I'd be, you know, I don't want to be in Fayetteville. Some people say that. What makes you invest here then?
I hate when people say Fayetteville, number one, because it's a image of a city. That image died a long time ago.
Agreed.
Let it die. Fayetteville is an amazing place.
Yep.
There's no other city so amalgamated with so many different cultures and ethnicities. And it's an amazing place to raise a child. My oldest son, Robert. I mean, we've always had a great experience here. So I still believe in the city. I served on the Joint Appearance Commission for 6 years. So I was behind the scenes and at the table, providing input on a lot of decisions pertaining to Fayetteville. I like the direction that the city is going.
Yep.
But my only complaint would be we need an industry outside of Fort Bragg that pays more than minimum wage. That's what we need.
Right.
And the only reason why the city loses out to major corporations that have tried to come here, we do not have the education pool required for companies like a Google. We don't have an education pool required for some of these other high tech companies. That's the number one complaint.
So it starts at the public school system, or what? Like, what's that metric?
I think that it's ways around it. Other cities have done it.
Right.
They cut deals with the community college. So if there are not enough people who have the skills required to code, cut a deal with Fayetteville Technical Community College where they pay the tuition.
Right.
And we provide the people.
Right.
And they're guaranteed a job for 2 years because they want return on investment. They're guaranteed a job for at least 2 years, and then after that, we go from there. Right. But there have been other cities that said, okay, we don't have the people here, education-wise, that you need. Give us the education.
Right, that makes sense.
And honestly, this is just me being conspiratorial. I don't think Fort Bragg wants any competition.
Yeah.
Because how do you keep people wearing a uniform? You deny them opportunity.
It's a natural progression.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep people on base wearing that uniform, deny competition.
Huh. So how close would you bring a Google or a factory, like a big? Well, we got Black & Decker.
Google is in Raleigh. Google is in Raleigh, and Amazon is coming next.
Right.
So I mean, what happens is if Fayetteville don't want to play, we're going to continuously lose out to the cities around us. Right. Continuously. That's all that's going to happen.
Right. Agreed. All right, so I'm going to back up just a little bit again. So, you were talking about the $30,000.
I'll be here once a week, people. Once a week for the next 6 months.
You need a podcast,
once
dude.
A week.
You need a podcast, man. You would give so much value. There'd be so many people that would be plugging in. Seriously. But say, you were looking for the $30,000 equity. Has to be in a home. And I heard you say foreclosures and short sales. I didn't hear you mention wholesalers.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. I work with maybe 4 wholesalers in Fayetteville. I got 2 in Raleigh, 1 in Greensboro, 1 in Winston-Salem, and 2 in Durham.
Okay.
I have a realtor in Florida, and I have a realtor in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm born and raised in St. Louis. We moved to Florida my junior year in high school. Okay. So that's where I got married. That's where my kids are now with their mom. But no, I work with wholesalers. I work with a lot of realtors, and I am a cash buyer. So you send me a deal, I will analyze it. I tell them all the same. I get about, let me slow down. I get about 8 to 12 emails per week.
Wow.
I see something I like. I have a process. Takes me about 2 to 3 hours. I never leave my office. If I like it, give me 2 to 3 hours. I'll call you, Ruben, write the contract. All cash. This is the price.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
I have a group of private lenders out of Atlanta. They give me about 1.3, 1.8 million a year to play with.
Okay.
They believe in me.
Yeah.
So I say that to say I don't use banks. I have no need for banks.
Right. Right. Okay. So for you, let's just get it bring some clarity to this. So you're on what number flip?
I am on 69.
69.
68, I think 68. And then I got 2 under contract right now. That'll be 69 and 70.
Okay. All right. And how many buy and holds?
I was up to 65. I've been selling everything. Well, I'm slowly selling everything. So I sold 4 last month. I sold, I think, 3 the month before that.
Just not pulling the return, or?
No. I am consolidating my cash. I'm converting the equity to cash, and I'm about to make a huge marijuana investment.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Do you see a shift coming in our market where you're also, say you're pulling, you're going to make the huge investment. So let's look at 30% of the cash that you're going to pull out of these homes. Are you stockpiling cash because maybe a shift in our market is coming up, or no? That's not something.
It's all marijuana specific.
Gotcha.
So what I learned at the investment conferences is, first of all, I love being around people that's smarter than me.
Right.
Multipliers. What I learned is my rental properties, on average, generate about 18% return a year. Right.
Awesome.
But this is all I do. So I'm getting the phone calls from tenants. I'm calling the plumber.
You have no one who works with you?
Not anymore.
Huh.
I'm calling the electrician. I'm calling the plumber. Sometimes I'm picking up the trash.
Right.
And what I realized is I could take $100,000, buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single family home right here in Fayetteville, put some money in it, and rent it for $900 to $1,000. Right? Do that all day in Fayetteville. Well, I can do $100,000 marijuana investment and net 24% return. $2,000 a month while I'm asleep. Right. While I'm asleep.
Right.
I don't have to answer the phone for anybody.
Yeah.
I don't have to get in the car and file eviction.
Right.
I could do whatever I want. So I'm getting this exact same return, sometimes double my money.
Right.
And I don't have to do anything.
So what's your goal? Because it's about 80-20 right now.
Correct. So my goal is 80-20, but the opposite. 80% marijuana.
Dang, you are
20%.
All chips in almost, man.
You got to see what I see.
Yeah.
There's a company. Okay, I got a phone call, and investor relations company out of Texas called me. They say, "Look, Jerome, we're the largest marijuana distributor to everyone who wants to sell marijuana.
Right.
So we're not a mom and pop shop. We are there's no bigger grower of marijuana. There's no bigger distributor of marijuana. 25% of our sales are in Canada, right? Get on the plane, come to Texas, spend 3 days with us. Let us show you what we do. Let's go over the numbers, and then let's talk about you investing with us.
And was this after the conference?
Yes.
So that's how they got your information?
This was after the conference.
Or what does that look like? Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
Correct. Well, I'm an accredited investor.
Gotcha.
So I get the phone calls every day.
Makes sense.
Every day.
Yes. I got you.
So I went out and spent 3 days, and they want you to test the product.
Oh, how'd that go? Were you like, sold? They're like, I'm over here, man. Look over here.
But it was an eye opener on the investment side. Most companies that call me, they promise a rate of return between 8 and 12%, 8 and 10%. 8 is pretty much the bottom line number. The highest I've ever heard is 12. Return on your money.
Sure.
Marijuana is so explosive. There are companies offering 24. There's companies out of Nevada that's offering 48.
Right.
Pete Asmus, you know who that is?
I've not even.
He used to be the largest real estate investor on the flip side in the entire state of Nevada.
Wow.
He gave up real estate investing. He's all in on marijuana now. So Pete Asmus is going around doing investment seminars.
Right.
So I got a chance to shake hands with him and sit down and have a conversation. And Pete said it best. Whatever you're making in real estate, you can do double or triple in marijuana with no work.
Right.
He said, I love flipping houses. He said, but if I could make the exact same or more without having to walk into a home, without having to choose a paint color, I'd rather do this. And so to see Pete, who I could easily say would be who I would want to scale to be, right?
Sure.
Completely lay down the sledgehammer and
to
take off his gloves, and now he's over here advocating for marijuana. It was a huge eye opener because Pete was flipping 100 homes a year easy.
Right.
A year easy. That was nothing for his team.
Right.
And now they are all in on marijuana.
So we know goals are specific, they're measurable, and they have a deadline. So what is your deadline for the percentage to split, where you're 80% marijuana and 20% real estate? I'm
gonna give myself 2 more years.
Okay.
My goal I got 2 goals for the December 31st, 2018. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this because I know that
on record, baby.
It's going you're gonna hold me accountable.
No doubt.
That's why I'm gonna say it. I have written 11 books, Ruben, and I've been procrastinating like crazy. And I really want to get that first book published. That's a goal that I have for by the end of this year.
Where
I'm
are they
publish
living?
My first book.
Where are the 11 books living? In a Dropbox? In a folder?
In a folder. I've already written them. For years. I read so much, it's only natural that you turn around and write.
I agree.
Because it opens up a creative realm inside.
Yeah.
And so I got all of these ideas, and I got tired of walking around with them in my head, right? Because if you walk around with them in your head too long, they disappear. So reading, a gentleman said, you need to sleep with a pen and paper next to your bed. And when you wake up, don't touch your cell phone. Just write for 10 minutes. Write. So I read and implement. And I want to make that very, very clear. I don't just read for the sake of reading. Read, implement. What can I pull out of this chapter? What can I pull out of this paragraph? What can I extrapolate from this one sentence? Implement in my life to help me get that much better.
Right.
So it's important to read and implement. And so I started the pen and pad next to the bed, wake up, write the first 10 minutes. Don't touch the cell phone. And you'd be amazed at the ideas that you will wake up with.
Are they visions sometimes?
A lot of times.
Yeah. That's what I would imagine.
A lot of times there are visions, and it's not even about trying to achieve everything you write down. I think it's just more important the process of writing it down.
Right.
Get it out of your head, and then walk away.
Yeah.
Let the subconscious chew on it and see what the subconscious does.
Right. Yeah. And that's why, when you started saying marijuana, I was like, well, what else can you do to monetize this? And then I went to blogging is because, especially if the demand is starting to build up for this thing, there's going to be people like you that are out there looking for books. And so if you built a blog telling your story, people start following you, and you can easily sell ebooks of each conference of the top, people like, you got to break it down to what's the top 10 thing, but the top 10 or 15 things that you pulled out of this conference that you can execute today. And with a 24% return, right? Like that'd be another way that you could practice on kind of moving your feet in the market before pushing out your book.
Right.
Well, so that's why I said, like, how else could you monetize this? Because I started doing the same thing with the books that I read. One thing I made a mistake doing is just implementing and not writing down, or there's a fruit fly in here.
Somewhere.
Did you get them?
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, all right. But yeah, so now what I'm doing when I read a book, I'll write it down, and I'm starting to just blog it.
Right.
To attract, honestly, more people like me that I want, or that are better than me, to kind of see where my mindset is, to we can kind of mastermind in the future. I don't know what I'm doing, but it feels right, so I'm doing it.
Right.
So there's that. What would your book be called?
Well,
I know you said 11. But if you were to pull one of those books, what's the name?
Oh man, one name: China Rules.
China Rules?
Yeah, China Rules.
Why?
There is a congressional fear of China. There's a military fear of China. And then there is a population of Americans that fear China, right? So my creative mind, I sat back and I wrote a book on how far does that fear escalates. A second book I wrote is, oh man, you got me, you caught me off guard with that one. Some of them I haven't even titled, but I did write a book on, a mass shooter.
So not just you also do nonfiction.
I'm creative. Creative.
Apologies.
You went business.
My apologies.
You weren't ready for that.
I did.
You weren't ready for that.
Business.
You weren't ready for that.
You got me.
So I wrote a book on a mass shooter, but with a twist. I'm not going to tell you the twist.
Please don't.
Cause that would ruin the surprise.
Yeah.
I got a big surprise for y'all. But I wrote a book on a mass shooting. And what's really, really cool is, and let me say this, I read nonfiction for about 20 years. My dad is an avid reader. And one day he said, he saw me reading a history book, this big ass history book. And he was like, you ever read fiction? I was like, I don't have time for fiction. Yeah. He was like, you need to read fiction.
Yeah.
And so once I started reading fiction, of course I fell in love with it. But all of my books are fiction except two. So you're not gotta write a leadership book. I was in the Marine Corps. Gotta write a leadership book. And then I got a book on, I would say empowerment. Yeah. And I read that the quickest way to wealth is not even thinking about money. It's enriching the people around you. So forget about you. Yeah. Make it about other people. Yeah. And so I believe that. And so everybody that walks in my office, and I hope you can attest to this, I try to figure out, how can I empower them? Forget about me. What can I do to help you get to whatever that next level is? So I just want to empower everybody. And I know what I'm supposed to get, I'm going to get. Yep. But I don't want it to be about me when somebody walks in my office. I'm trying to help in every manner that I possibly can. Yeah. And I'm going to continue to do that. And so I want to conceptualize that, right? Now, there are a lot of books on coaching. I get it. There are a lot of books on empowerment, but I believe I have a message as well. Yep. To add to that. So minus those two, nonfiction, everything else is fiction. Yeah. So I went to a mastermind. Guy's crushing it in DC with his team. They closed $2.2 billion last year. And he said, we serve to profit and we profit to serve. And that's it. He was like, how are you using real estate as a vehicle to invest into other people? And I was like, he thinks so much bigger
than just a transaction.
On that note, I sit on the board of directors with Connections of Cumberland County. We serve homeless women and children. I was homeless, and so I feel like it was important for me. And I'm not one of those people who said, when I get money, I'll volunteer. I always volunteered. Even when I was broke, I volunteered.
Robbins, he said, what did he say? Oh, he said, if you won't give $10 out of 100, you won't give 100 million out of, no, what did he say? 10 million out of 100 million or something like that. Meaning you have to, from the beginning, you have to give. From the beginning. You've got
from
nothing,
the beginning. That's right.
Give.
That's right. So I've always been active in the homeless volunteer community here. Wherever I was stationed, I volunteered. And I kept that up when I got out the Marine Corps. I had my son right by my side because I wanted him to see that it was important for us to always, always, always give back. No matter what we got going on inside our life, good or bad, it's so many people that are much worse off. You got to remember that.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. And there's another saying. I think it was Jim Rohn who said, you can have everything you want when you can help someone get everything they want, or something like that.
I love Jim Rohn.
Yeah, Jim Rohn.
I have a CD that I play when I'm in the car driving long distances. It's Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
It's like 4 hours long. It's just Jim talking.
Yeah.
I love that CD.
Yeah. I mean, his style is so cool too. I mean, because he's got like little jokes in there, and it's fun.
That's right. I have
it's a fun way.
I have one of his quotes. Never let your expectations exceed your income. When I heard that, I hit pause and I went for a walk.
It just, that thing punched you in the face.
I went for a walk. It was like, what? Jim Rohn is powerful. And
I wonder, all right, here. I wonder if you could build packages, meaning, well, you might, so I don't know what challenges you're going to run into this, but like for some people, they may need help to think big.
Correct.
So for marijuana world coming in, what if there was packages of, I guess smoke this much, listen to this, write this down. Right? And just don't stop writing. Once you get to this point, smoke this, listen to this, write this down. I wonder if there's maybe in the future some type of package, because it sounded like it hit you like this experience of your mind just got blown and it grew and it expanded and you needed some time to deal with that expansion. Maybe some people need help where you can do these packages.
I think it's exposure, education and exposure.
Yeah.
My first time going to the investors conference, I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And before you go, they send you this profile sheet. And one of the questions was, how much money do you have? I didn't know how to respond to that. Right. So I was like, man, do I really tell them? And so finally, I got over myself, right? I wrote down, okay, I got $3 million. I get to the conference. Remember, the average person, $50 million net worth. I get to the conference and, my first workshop, this guy comes over. He says, you're Jerome Bell. I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, I read your profile. I'm thinking, oh my God. He saw that I got $3 million. He's going to ask me for some money.
Yeah.
He says his name. He says, I'm out in, such and such, California. I made $46 million last year. I saw you made $3 million. What's wrong with you? So for someone to,
right?
I think I'm big dog because I'm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, right? With $3 million, and that's like, oh my God, everybody's amazed.
Right.
Get out of your fishbowl.
No doubt.
And then you find out your fishbowl was actually floating in the ocean. It's some whales out there.
Yeah.
And some sharks.
Yep.
And so for somebody to approach me and say, I made 46 million in the same time it took you to make 3. What's wrong with you? And how can I help you?
Right.
How can I help you scale so that we both make 46 million next year? How many times you get to be in a room with someone that asks you a question like that?
Right.
So education and exposure. You got to go to where the money is. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah.
And so every time I go to this conference, these guys are I have an MBA. I got 3 degrees. I mean, I've been studying money forever. I've read a ridiculous amount of books on banking, on IRS regulation. I'm an accountant, on interest rates. I mean, anything pertaining to money I've read.
Right. And
to go to these conferences, and sometimes it's like they speak in a whole nother language, and it's like, man, I love this.
Right.
So I think it's a combination. You can monetize a package, but at the end of the day, they need to be in the room with Ruben.
Oh, no doubt.
This is like the people listening to your podcast. Like once a year, you gotta do something for your audience where they actually get the chance to be in the room with you.
Okay. I can do that.
Yeah,
no doubt. I mean,
mic drop, I'm out.
Yeah. So if you're listening, there'll be a Q&A session. No, I mean, that's actually a really, really good idea. I mean, I wouldn't mind because I'm so freaking transparent, dude. And like, there's nothing to hide. And as soon as you shift your mind into a mindset or an abundant mindset, you could be as transparent as, because there's so much.
Correct.
So
correct.
yeah, no,
correct.
Hell,
correct.
I never thought about that. That'd be maybe a
how many people listen to Warren Buffett? Millions, right?
Yeah.
What does he do? Once a year, he rents out the football stadium for all of the listeners, all of the believers, all of the readers to sit with him for an entire weekend. They get to ask him questions from the audience. They get to shake his hand. They get to take selfies. They get to interact with Warren Buffett one weekend out of the year. And he's been doing that forever. So I think it's great to have the podcast, but at some point they got to get a chance to be in the room with you.
Yeah. Too easy. Too easy. I mean, I kind of get tickled because anything that I could do to give back, dude, I'm up for it. I'm up for it. And I think I've always turned, man, like anytime I do something here, or we're going to Nashville this weekend to this conference thing, and I'm going to be on the panel. Dude, I'm stoked. Like,
of course.
Most of it's going to be a Q&A, and I just like, freaking ask me anything you want. I will give it all to you. So no, that's actually a really good idea. Thanks for coaching me on that. But going back, you're right, man. Your network, they say your network is your net worth.
That's right.
And so it makes sense that you want to constantly surround yourself with people who question how you can make X amount a year when in the same year they made X amount. Yeah,
I got access to a $3 million line of credit. $5 million line of credit. And what I did was I read a book on networking by Brian Hillard, and one of the things he teaches is come up with a 30-second elevator pitch. Who you are, why are you attending the conference, what is it you hope to walk away from, and how can you help the other person. So I came up with this 30-second elevator pitch, and I ended by saying, I'm here to acquire $3 million, or you the person to give it to me. And then I smile. So that was the end of my elevator pitch.
Right.
So think about this. 600 people in the room, 599 other people. I did this elevator pitch over and over. Everybody said the same thing. They laughed. It's like, Jerome, here's my card. I don't know if I can give you $3 million, but let's talk.
Right.
The last day of the conference.
Yeah.
I see this guy who I hadn't seen before.
Right.
Get my card out. I run over to him. I do my elevator pitch. I'm here for $3 million, or you, the guy to give it to me. Big smile.
You got it down to a science at that point.
He looked at me. He says, Jerome, I like your energy. $3 million's not enough. The lowest I can give you is $5 million. I said, okay. He said, are you hungry? Let's go to lunch. I said, let's go. 4 hours later, $5 million line of credit.
For what?
Real estate. Real estate.
Oh, this is where we go back to saying that. Yeah.
Real estate. So, I mean, it's a great example of don't try to reinvent the wheel. Do what the book says.
Yeah.
He said, come up with a 30-second elevator pitch.
Yeah.
I did it. I repeated it 500 plus times, but it only took one person to say, I can do it.
Right.
And that's what happened for me.
Yeah. I'm going to have to look into that because anytime we go with some of the people that I'm working with, you know, we leave Fayetteville. I give them a goal on how many people they need to chat with, right? And that they need to sit up front, and they need to be surrounded by this person, and, you know. But I've never added that extra element to the conversation that you got to have with those 20 people. So that'd be something that
I got a lot of calls from that elevator pitch. Right. A lot of calls. I got a lot of people offering me their money. And so what's cool is, I mean, yeah, I got the 5 million line of credit, but I also got people calling me saying, hey, a friend of mine named Ruben attended this conference. He said you were looking for money.
It's who you know.
I got $100,000. Right. I know it's not a lot, but he said you're a good guy to give it to invest with. Will you take my $100,000? It was like,
right.
Yeah.
right. Exactly. So what are you talking with those investors now because of a 2-year scale out kind of real estate? Or are you investing their money for them and you just get a piece of
No.
interest that comes?
I get charged an interest rate for the money that I use.
Oh, okay.
That's
right.
How
it's just a line of credit.
Just a line of credit.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. The money that I use.
That makes sense.
But the cool thing is, even the people who didn't have 3 million, they I'm not gonna say all of them, but a lot of them called me and said, hey, I remember you. I mean, out of everybody I met, I remember you. Yeah. You had that really cool pitch going for you, man. He's like, hey, I got 1.5. You know, somebody else said they had $500,000. So I mean, it was the post response was just amazing when I returned with all the phone calls and emails saying, hey, will you take my money? It wasn't it's not 3 million, but will you still take my money? So it was like the elevator pitch. You got to add that element. Yeah.
And you just took that out of a book and just ran the play, and it worked.
Ran the play. But I think that, let's say you said, Jerome, none of my listeners need $3 million. Most of them just want 100,000. Most of them just want 200,000. I would say triple whatever it is that you think you want to leave room for negotiation.
Right.
So if you only need 200,000, present your elevator pitch asking for 600. Leave some room for negotiation.
Right. Because the majority of the calls that you got were
less than. Most of them were in the 800,000 to 1.5 range.
Right. Right. Well, that worked out.
It worked out.
That worked out. So one thing I'm thinking about is, man, you see these real estate people that are moving into the marijuana game. And that's a shift because real estate's been around forever. They're not making more land, right? Must be powerful. What do you, or is there any conversation about what's after marijuana? Because that is a big, dude, for someone, especially real estate, to move the mindset into marijuana. Is there any conversation about?
There was a company there, their presentation, they got a federal contract to buy real estate and convert it into opioid rehab homes. So instead of thinking group homes, think homes for patients. And the government is paying $3-4 grand a week per patient to help them with their opioid addiction.
So we're going back into real estate.
Back into real estate. So there was and I have their entire presentation in my office. So there was a company that was discussing syndication for the purpose of buying up multifamily for the purpose of serving the opioid rehab community. And the money comes directly from federal, not state.
Right.
So they handle the grant paperwork, they handle all the inspections,
right?
And they utilize our money to purchase the real estate, and basically we get our rate of return on the number of patients we have. So you have a per patient breakdown, then you have, if we're 50% occupancy, 80% occupancy, 100% occupancy.
Right.
And since this is new, that the government is going in this direction with these rehab houses for opioids, we already have waiting lists to get into the homes. So we got the waiting list first.
Yeah.
They're looking for us to buy the real estate.
Why opioids? You know what I'm saying?
So many people are dying on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And it's a consensus that rehab is necessary. Now, I gotta say this because I am a Black American. When drugs are quote unquote idealized as being specific to one race. Mm-hmm. So when you say crack, the media will make you believe or think Black people, crack, Black people, crack, Hispanic people immediately, because that's how we're portrayed as being the biggest users of specific drugs. The prison system exploded when it was thought of blacks and
stay away from
blacks and Hispanics being the main users of these drugs. Well, opioids, again, the media portrays either elderly Caucasian as being victim, not criminal, victim, or some college kid, Caucasian college kid who rumbled through grandma's medicine cabinet. So you have a different population that's being, I'm going to use the word again, idealized as predominantly Caucasian. And so the treatment is not prison. It's we need to hurry up and build or buy as many multifamily as possible to help these victims. So not only do you have government backing, but you have a lot of nonprofit organizations that are screaming, we need to help, we need to help, we need to help, we need to help, we need to help. So there's less rehab centers than there are people who need them. So it's right now is prime opportunity to get your foot in the door. So if you said, what could we capitalize on right now in the state of North Carolina because marijuana is still illegal here?
Right.
Opioid rehab homes.
Right. So this may be small thinking on my part. Would that be commercial? No, because multifamily, well, like zone commercial.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Multifamily is commercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's commercial.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 and up or 5 and up. Yeah. Okay. That was easy. I was like, no, because you're being a resident, and then now you're. No,
but the concept is the same as group homes, meaning you need a CNA,
right?
You need a doctor, you need security, because you're taking strangers that are all addicts and putting them in an environment where they got to live together,
right?
So you need those 3 things.
Yeah,
you need somebody to take care of them, administer medication,
right?
You need a doctor. You need security. 24 hours. 24 hours.
Yeah,
24
no
hours.
doubt.
Yeah. So it's a great not only way to invest, but bring jobs to the community.
Right. Hey, you were dropping knowledge. All right, so I'm going to ask you a few questions, okay? Have you listened? Because there might be the same questions. But I'm going to ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
You answered that one. Do you have a favorite? Nope, you answered that one. What have you gotten better to saying no to?
People asking for money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that when you first get money, somehow, some way people find out and they come at you hard. And so, again, you make excuses for people on why you should help them.
Right.
And, what you have to remember is if you give money to everyone who asks, you'll be working at McDonald's in less than 6 months. You'll lose everything you worked so hard to attain.
Right.
So it's in your best interest to say no more than yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. What profession other than your own, being real estate, marijuana, anything we talked about, what profession other than your own would be fun to attempt?
A writer.
Dang. You can't choose that. You know, after I said it, I was like, you should have. I was like, nah, he won't. He said it. All right. Besides that.
I love being an accountant.
Yeah.
I actually love reading IRS regulation. And I think that if you do taxes with somebody that can't quote IRS regulation, you're doing taxes with the wrong person.
Right.
I keep like literally the IRS regulations on my desk, and I try my best to stay on top of all the changes.
Right.
I shouldn't say all, but it changes so often, especially now with the latest legislation that just passed pertaining to tax compliance. But I love doing taxes. I love being an accountant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think being an accountant and being an investor goes hand in hand. Right. And then if you add real estate to that, real estate is the cherry on top.
Right.
I mean, they all flow.
So do you are like for your clients, for your accounting side, are most of them real estate investors? Like, is that
No. Most of
market?
them, I would say 80% is the regular Joe, 9 to 5.
Gotcha. Okay.
The other 20% are business owners like me, just like me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not necessarily real estate investors, but business owners.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because real estate investing is a business as well.
Correct.
Huh. It might be a niche for you. Have you thought about that?
Oh yeah, I sell it as a niche.
Right.
No one's in a better position to do a real estate investor's taxes than a real estate investor.
Right.
I mean, the classes I attend with the IRS are real estate specific.
Right.
I want to know everything about how many, what can I do on the real estate side? What can I do with my real estate to diminish the amount of taxes that I have to pay or my clients have to pay?
How long are you going to do that?
That's a good question. I honestly have given myself 2 more years.
Okay.
I believe that, and of course I'm biased, but I believe that my books are of high quality. I think I'm introducing something that hasn't been seen before.
Okay.
And that's very, very important to me. So even though I wrote a book, for instance, on a mass shooting, it's not something you've seen before.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And that's always critical for me when I'm creating something. I don't want to duplicate something somebody else has did.
Right.
I really want to give a creative perspective.
Sure.
And make people think. So what I like to say is I love making people laugh, but even better, I love making people think.
Right.
So I look at a lot of older movies. They're like this roller coaster. They put all the emotions in. So they want to make you laugh. They want to make you cry. They want to anger you.
Right.
They want to make you feel better and mushy and cry at the end.
Yeah.
And so I want to provide that same roller coaster. I think if you look at a lot of the movies that have come out in the last 5 years, part 4, part 3, part 6, they're bringing back everything we grew up to.
I know.
They're bringing back. And it's like, man, another Halloween?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Yeah. Another Halloween?
Yeah.
No, there are no fresh ideas.
I was talking to your wife. I was like, if they mess with the Goonies or the Sandlot, I'm going to be pissed. They better not mess with those movies. Those are like my jam back in the day. Stay away.
There's a serious lack, in my opinion, of fresh creativity. And so I really believe I'm onto something, that I've really found a creative.
What about Netflix? Movies that come out.
Oh, independent films?
Yeah.
I love it.
Dude, they're sick.
I love it. And
they're so good.
You should attend. I think it'll be a great experience for you and your wife. The International Film Festival right in Durham every year. A week of movies right in Durham. So, I mean, it's unfortunate we don't have something like that in Fayetteville. Yeah. Last year I did attend, that was a 1-day festival. I went and saw Wilmington on Fire.
Right.
And there were 2 other movies that premiered. But it's not as extensive as larger cities. But Durham International Film Festival. Yeah. An entire week of independent films. No, I love it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So does that interfere with your the way that you want to, how am I going to say this? When you're watching a movie or you're reading a book and you're really starting to get into it, does the way that you think on how you can maybe use some of what's in the book or the movie affect you enjoying the movie or the book?
No, not at all. Because
Because do you stop and analyze?
When I open those pages, I'm opening them with a clear mind.
Okay.
Now, when I read something profound,
yeah,
what I do immediately, I reread it, and then I go back to the beginning of the chapter, and I reread all the way up until that profound moment, and then I put the book down and marinate.
Get out of here.
Seriously. I always do that.
Huh.
So, Eric Jerome Dickey has a book called Pleasure. And it's a high sex, fictitious book. But there is a scene in the book where this young lady is having sex and he describes the face of God. And it messed me up. Because
yeah, of course.
I have read a lot of religious texts.
Right.
Okay? A lot of religious texts. None have ever painted the face of God. And so when I first read it, I had to look at the cover and I was like, this is a fictitious book. Okay. I went back to the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah.
I reread up to that moment and I put the book down. I'm serious, man. I go for walks. And I went for a walk and I was like, what the hell does this mean?
Right.
That I found this in this book. And cause, it taught me something. In writing, what I realized, who's speaking? Is it really the character in the book or the person who wrote it?
Right.
So if I am anti-Semitic, I can't just come out and say that, right?
Right.
Because everyone would know Jerome Bell is racist. Mm-hmm. What if I wrote a book and my character is anti-Semitic? Right. Now I can unload everything through the character without getting blamed.
Right.
Specifically. Because anytime somebody says something, I can
just
deflect.
Ruined every book for me.
I could deflect. That
makes sense.
It's the character. You understand? So when Eric Jerome Dickey wrote this paragraph on the face of God, I said, that's amazing what he just did.
Right.
I want to write like that.
Right.
And so when you read China Rules, to me, I spent a lot of time reading the history of slavery. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm black. I want to learn what really took place.
Right.
So I read all of these books. So if, as a black man, if I write a book about blacks against the establishment, which I believe is an idea in action of white supremacy. Mm-hmm. No one wants to read that crap. Come on, Jerome. Nobody, what are you, a Black Panther?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to read that.
Yeah.
But if I write a book called China Rules,
yeah,
that's my way of deflecting.
Yeah.
Making you believe I'm criticizing another country's government. It's a satire. I'm talking about the U.S. government.
Yeah.
But the title is China Rules. In order to do business with America, what do you have to do? You got to play by the rules.
Right. All right. So the goal is specific, measurable, and has a deadline. Yeah, okay. So when is this stuff? All right. You got some people that are like, that sounds interesting. I'd like to read. I'm going to put on my calendar that I can read this at what date?
I'm giving myself December 31st, 2018. This year, I can't keep waiting.
Yeah.
I can't keep.
Well, you're not waiting anymore. Now you have a lot of other people waiting.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but there are more and more mass shootings.
Yeah.
And so the timing, I think the reason why I want China Rules to be my first book, this particular president and the character who plays the president in the book, there are going to be some aha moments.
Right, right.
Now, I don't want to give you too many specifics, but there are, he's not as fanatical.
Right.
Or extreme as the current president. But I think there are some moments where you will read the book and go, damn, the timing of this.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
Would you do an ebook? I mean, audio?
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to.
I think you have the voice, you have the excitement.
I would love to.
You're the one who wrote it.
Right.
So that's got to come through.
That'd be interesting. My vision. I'm also on the board of directors, Cape Fear Regional Theater.
Okay.
So,
you know, I'm trying to, I'm trying. I am in the mix. Okay, so put in a good word for me. I'm trying to get Bo Thorpe on a podcast.
Got you.
And I'm reaching out to him, and we're trying to make a date. So
Got you.
You know, let her know, man.
Wish I'd have known. I would have invited you to our house.
Yeah.
Last time we went.
Yeah. Well, next time.
But my goal is, how I see it is, take some of this real estate money, come up with a marketing budget.
Sure.
Sit down with a creative team, actors, right? And we reenact one of the scenes in the book. I will mandate to be on the creative team. You got to read the book.
Right.
And then let's sit down, the 8 of us, 6 of us. What scene can we do a 30-second, no more than 60-second shoot to promote the book? And then I just freaking explode all over the internet, where people are watching what they think is a movie premiere, and then it ends showing the cover of the book. I got a plan.
That's a good idea.
I got a plan.
Yeah,
Ruben, I got a plan.
Plan's got to be executed, though. It don't come alive until it's executed.
It's coming.
Good, man.
It's coming.
Good. I want to be part of that. You just let me know how I can help. All right. So what a mistake you've seen seasoned people do in your industry, particularly real estate?
Ego
And
greed. I built a house out in Anderson Creek Golf Course, and there was actually another real estate investor who lived behind me. He had 2 Range Rovers. He had the Maserati, and he had a white Maserati.
Okay.
He had 2 Range Rovers. One was blue. The other one was also white.
Right.
And I like having a nice home, but I don't like showing too much.
Right.
On the materialism side.
Right.
I'm just not into that.
Yeah.
And so I was at my mailbox, and he pulls up in the Maserati, he rolls down the window. He's like, man, when you going to get one of these?
Yeah.
Stop being cheap. When you going to get one of these? And I quoted him, Jim Rohn, never let your expectations exceed your income.
Right.
I said, I live off of my residual income.
Right.
When my residual income says I can buy a Maserati, I buy a Maserati.
Right.
At the time, my residual income said Lexus. I drove a Lexus.
Yeah. Right.
So I said, you cannot fall for the keeping up with the Joneses. Yep. You can't fall for that.
Yep.
You will be amazed. I bought a hoopty to ride around. I didn't want to pick up clients in my Lexus.
Right.
Someone bought a hoopty, not too shabby, nothing crazy.
Right.
But
blends
just
in.
Something that I could put a whole bunch of miles on, ride clients around.
Yeah.
And one day I pulled up to meet a client, and they bust out laughing. And I get out the car, and they looked at the car, and they said, "We thought you were successful."
Well, you nodded your head and went on, right? You did not even entertain that conversation.
But it's unfortunate. There are a lot of people who will look at your car, they'll look at your shoes, they'll look at your watch. They're trying to find a way to define your success off of their materialistic philosophy.
Yep.
And you cannot allow yourself to fall prey to that. I do what my residual income tells me to do. Right. Not anybody else. I'm not living by somebody else's definition of success. My dream.
That's a fool's game, man.
My dream was wake up whenever I want and decide if I want to go to work. Yep. I'm living my dream. Mm-hmm. I'm living my dream every day. I don't have to get up every day because I have a bill to pay or because somebody else says so. Right. So I'm living my dream the way that I want to. Right. So in my opinion, ego, greed, and they think that being a real estate they want to make being a real estate investor a specific image, connected to a car, connected to the size of a house, connected to certain clothes. Yeah. My mentor told me, don't ever put on a suit unless the man in front of you has more money than you. Mm-hmm. So if nobody has more than $3 million, why are you wearing a suit? Mm-hmm. I rarely wear a suit.
$1, man. You missed out. You missed out on this opportunity.
So I mean, you got to be careful who you listen to. You got to be careful what image you project.
Dude, I'm so grateful. You know, one of the people that I connected myself with when I was younger was a millionaire. However, you can never, ever, 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 ever tell this guy was a millionaire ever.
Poor dad, rich dad, right?
Yeah. And I attached myself to him, and I listened. I didn't even talk. I may have talked 3% of the time. He was just unloading, and I just listened and listened and listened. And I'm just so grateful. Like, that's because there's another millionaire right next to him, right? But I mean, not in this neighborhood, but just pretend like there's another millionaire next to him wearing a suit, fancy watch, you know, necklace, earrings, whatever. And maybe, what if the wind blew the right way and I fell in line with his morals?
Correct.
It's so cool, and I'm so grateful that I fell in line with the other man's morals. Correct. I mean, he started from zip. He was picking. He was a Mexican, just picking stuff in the farms. Millionaire, and hard work, and would never talk about it.
There are two people right here in Fayetteville. I know for a fact, you know, both of them, so I won't say any names. Both of them, trying to play the image. Both drive Mercedes. And one day I pulled up in my real estate mobile, and I parked in between both of the Mercedes. They were waiting on me. We met at Olive Garden, and I got out the car, and they bust out laughing. They shook their head. They was like, "Man, you are so damn cheap." I said, "Never let your expectations exceed your income."
Yeah,
Jerome.
Yeah. You need that.
And so, what's really, really cool is within 6 months of that meeting, both of them came to me and asked if I would buy their homes.
Dang.
Because they ran into financial issues.
Dang.
And so they wanted to know, individually, they wanted to know, would I help bail them out, buy their home, and then allow them to rent it back once they rent it until they could buy it back after getting on their feet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if somebody was standing in that parking lot and saw me get out that car, and saw both of them get out of that Mercedes, they would immediately assume, oh wow, they're probably trying to help that guy. Yeah. Not knowing the truth was I was the more successful one. Yeah. So you cannot try to utilize materialism to equate it to someone's success. Because true knowledge will tell you it's not the guy in the fancy suit that has the money. It never is, actually.
Yep, I agree, man.
As an accountant, I learned that real fast.
Yeah, no, man, I love that. I mean, and this guy that I'm talking about was in the real estate game too, and he wasn't hurt in 08. You know, and a lot of his buddies lost everything, their homes and everything. He wasn't hurt. And he talked about that.
I'm glad you brought that up. When the market crashed 08, 09, I didn't lose anything. Yeah. Because I only live off of my residual income. Yeah. So my money was always still there. Yeah. I did not lose. I've never filed for foreclosure. I've never filed bankruptcy. Right. I didn't lose anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the stories he told me was that, and I don't know how or when it happened, but he said that he was looking at his son, older, grown man. He was a grown man, obviously. And they were brushing their teeth in the morning. And he said, you know, they both had toothpaste. He said, you know, I paid 50 cents for this and you paid $1 for that. And he was like, the son was like, no, we bought this together at the same time. It was the same cost. He said, look at your toothbrush. And he had double the amount of toothpaste on his toothbrush versus him. And he's like, this is how my mindset is. I paid much less for this than you did because I'm going to get 2 times the amount out of this tube than you will. I was like, just blowing my mind. And it's just the way you look at things and the way that it's enough for right now. You know, and it's just, it was just cool. I'm so glad I aligned myself with that guy. All right. I got another question. Purchases of less than $100 that have most improved your life. Now that we're talking about money, this kind of rolls right into it. That most
improved my life. I will say, I got a $5 calculator. Very basic that I use more than the calculator on my cell phone. Yeah. And, pencil and paper. Right. I think that ego, we believe we're going to remember. And I will tell you, you will not remember.
I so agree with
whatever that. Idea you have, write it down. No matter how small you might think it is, write it down.
Right.
Get everything out of your head. It is so critical.
Yeah.
When I do not have a set time of day that I write. I don't do that.
Right.
The last time I added a chapter to a book, I was in the middle of washing dishes and watching a football game. And I'm washing dishes, and this scene came to me. And I stood there, I let it play out in my head. I dried my hands off, I ran, got the paper and pen, and I wrote the whole scene that just came to me.
Right.
And so I don't try to force creativity. But every time creativity shows up, I get it all out. No matter what I'm doing, I stop. I get it all out because I do not want to lose it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In conversation with someone else, if creativity hits, what do you do? And now, not being rude.
Make a note in my cell phone.
Yeah.
I could show you my notes in my cell phone. I got over probably 1,000 quotes. Yeah. Every time sometimes people ask profound questions.
Right.
I don't want to lose that question.
Right.
I'll be like, hey, excuse me. Just let me write this down, please. I love that question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes just telling people, hey, look, I love
no
what you just said, man. Please say that again so I could copy that. So, I mean, sometimes I make a note without them knowing. Sometimes I ask permission to regurgitate what they just said. Please say that again. Can you ask that question again? I want to ask myself this again when I'm by myself. I want some time to think on this one.
Yeah.
So I think if you just politely ask permission, number one, or two, figure out a way to just jot down some key words so you remember the subject, the content of what you were talking about.
I agree. Mm-hmm. I find that when something hits me, I throw it in the conversation too. Mm-hmm. Like when I said the package, you mm-hmm. smoke this, you watch this, you write this down with the action steps. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. And so maybe someone else hears that and says, you know what? We need to make a subscription out of that mm-hmm. and base it with, I don't know, whatever's hitting in the world, that like Jurassic Park, like correct. Maybe this is the Jurassic, correct? And then once you do this way. But these subscription packages that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so I guess when creativity or an idea hits, I throw it in the mix mm-hmm. and see how it gets tossed around mm-hmm. or added. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I think is cool is masterminds.
Oh, I love masterminds.
I mean, again, I didn't learn about those probably 10 years ago. Yeah. I've been doing this for 21 years, but I didn't know about masterminds. Right. So, I mean, to be able to just get in the room and sit down at the table and brainstorm with other human beings that all have some input mm-hmm. to offer, that's amazing within itself. Yeah, I think some of the best conversations on a financial side, investing side, the Investors Conference. Right. I met a man. I didn't even know you could do this. Him and his family flip restaurants. I didn't even know you could do that.
Like buy them crap, sell them?
They go in. He said they use a consulting firm that specifically finds optimal locations for their Italian restaurants. So they use a consulting firm to find the locations. Mm-hmm. The deal we discussed, they bought a building, $5.5 million. Went in, structured it out, got the restaurant up and running. 18 months later, they paid $5.5 million for the building, another $3 million in construction and inventory. Mm-hmm. 18 months in, they got the revenues up to around $60,000 a week. Mm-hmm. Sold for $18 million in 18 months. $10 million walkaway profit. Yeah, I didn't even know you could flip a restaurant. Yeah. So the ingenuity, human ingenuity in that room, the amount of just brain power. Yeah. There was a woman there who gave a seminar on Airbnb. She started doing Airbnb by renting out her sofa. The second thing she put.
Yeah, let me hear your excuse.
The second thing she rented was her shed in her backyard. I didn't even know you could do that. Yeah. So I mean, we hear things. Yeah. And our mind immediately goes to Airbnb. Oh, so she's renting a house. She was talking about sheds. She was talking about, no, just rent the couch. I didn't have a room to rent, so I rented my couch.
Right.
I didn't want anybody in my house, so I rented a shed. There was this guy happened to own a paint company. Saw that she was renting her shed. He lived in the same neighborhood.
Worked out.
A storage unit would have been like triple.
Right.
His cost. Her shed was the same size.
Yeah.
She was renting her shed on Airbnb $200 a week.
Wow.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, me neither.
So these conferences are critical, and it goes back to exposure, Ruben.
Right.
You got to get around people who are doing what you want to do, but on a much bigger level. Much bigger level.
Yep.
And I tell all of my mentees, so far, I've amassed $3 million. Mm-hmm. I can teach you how to make $3 million. Mm-hmm. And then, hell, once you learn everything you can from me and you plateau at 3 million, go find a mentor with 10. Go find a mentor with 20.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to, on a regular basis, interact with people who are where you want to be sitting.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I agree. That's so huge, man. One thing that you said had me thinking not too long ago was how is value monetized? And like, so when you say that they bought this restaurant for this amount, uplifted inventory, all that good stuff, and then they sold it for X amount and made 10 million. Now what made that 10 million?
60,000 in sales a week.
Yeah.
That's what made that 10 million.
Yeah. No, and
that's what made it.
I guess for people that just get caught up in like scarcity mindsets, right? And for someone to literally flip something and 10 million like that, where like that money was made out of value and opportunity. It's not, I mean, it's made out of printing, right? But no, man, you can make it out of value and opportunity. You can make money out of value and opportunity.
That's right.
It just shows up. You just have to do it.
I think we haven't discussed this yet. Having a mentor is important.
Yeah.
When so I own a tax preparation company. There are, again, conferences take place nationwide.
Right.
I go to one a year. And the most tax returns I've ever done in 1 year is 300. And I'm comfortable with that. That's a lot. In 6 weeks, 300 is a lot. But the key thing is, when I went to this conference, I think I was around between 100 and 150 tax returns. Right. Average. And so I went to this conference and they presented an award to a father and son team. The previous tax season, they completed 12,000 tax returns.
Dang.
12,000. And after the award presentation, we had networking. And so I'm eating my appetizers, and the father and son team walk over to my table. Hey, can we sit over here? I was like, man, I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. Yeah. And so the best advice they gave me was stop negotiating your prices. So they asked me, they said, what do you need help with? Well, how many tax returns you do? I said 150. They were like, okay, something's not, you're not doing something right. Yeah. And so they asked me some questions, and then they said, listen, your problem is simple. Double your price and then don't negotiate it down no matter what. Right. And I was like, but I need that money. Yeah. They said, that's a scarcity mindset. Yeah. You're thinking about a bill. You're not thinking about your service. Right. Start focusing on your service. Focus on the people walking into your office. Forget about you. That, we go back to that. Right. Forget about you. Yeah. And so I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. Right. So that I left that conference. I doubled the price of my tax preparation. I refused to negotiate, and I did 300 tax returns that year. Mindset. Man. So I think reading critical, podcast critical, exposure critical, mentorship critical.
Yeah.
You got to be doing all of them.
Yeah.
A culmination. You got to constantly have something in that pot that's cooking that you're working on. It's so critical. All components. I mean, neither will work by themselves. You got to have all of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mixed with some action.
Holy
moly, take some action.
But when I asked, how can I just double my price?
Right.
He looked at me and said, Jerome, what are you worth?
Yeah.
And I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
How much college education do you have? How much tax preparation do you have? I interned with the IRS. Mm-hmm. How many tax preparers can say that?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So all of this had a value, but I was looking at it from the wrong lens.
Right.
So it took that one conversation to totally impact and reconfigure everything I was doing on the tax preparation side to help make me not only be a better tax preparer,
right,
but double my revenue.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They say price is the determining factor in the absence of value. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you want someone to argue with your price, you maybe not giving them enough value. Like,
correct.
Just price is a determining factor in the absence of value.
Correct.
People will pay the money.
Correct. They will.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So since I peppered you with questions, what question do you have for me?
Well, now that you've seen both sides, I call it chasing commissions as a realtor, right. Chasing commissions. No doubt. And now you're on a different side.
Right.
What's your takeaway from your experience as having a license and working with the public?
Meaning the impact, or?
Meaning, for instance, I had a license.
Right.
I didn't like working with the public.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now you're working with the public. Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. No. I think, some people get caught in the world that they have to work with every client that comes their way, and you
correct.
Don't. I mean, if you respect yourself and your family's time and other people, then you will say no a lot, and you get to choose who you want to work with. So, I don't know if you could, if you're finding yourself tied down to the public and in how they act or interact with you or throw you around or mess with you or call you all hours of the night, and you allow it. By the way, you have to allow all this to happen.
Right.
You gotta look at yourself and say, is your family worth the time? Is if I say, cause they, if you say yes to them, you're saying no to a cool client that you could be working with. So say no to them and say yes to the client that will respect you. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think, being a realtor means being a business owner? But in my opinion, most realtors are employee minded.
So 100%.
What is it that you do to help them transition from thinking like an employee to thinking like an owner? Yeah,
right. So you have to let them know that anything they've been told to throw it away, because it's crap, man. It's crap. The traditional way of real estate is crap. It is. I mean, I started at a different firm before I started, working here, and it is an employee mindset. I mean, they will give you the lead. If you put their phone number on their sign, by the way, they give you the sign with their phone number. Any leads that are called on that sign goes to them, and they get to decide. Like it's a different game. So, I guess I challenged them by saying, because a lot of realtors think that they have to be the one that does it all. They got to be the one who shows the house, that contract to close, the listing coordinating, the marketing, because there's no one who could do it better.
Right.
It's like, no, the public is attracted to your standard. And if you could duplicate your standard, then you're not doing the public any wrong. You're just getting more time back. What does that look like?
Right.
Leverage, right?
Right.
So I think you introduced that very early. You say leverage 100 times, and and allow them to build a business that closes hundreds, thousands of units a year without them putting their hand on it. It's their business selling real estate, and them no more.
Gotcha.
And I asked them, I say, when you go into Harris Teeter, right, and you walk in, does someone greet you? Yeah, sometimes someone greets me. Okay. Does that person go run to the shelves and start stacking them? No. Oh, okay. And then once they leave there, they go run into the cash register because now they want to be the one that hurries up and gives you your change back and everything. And then they want to help you carry. No, that thing is completely leveraged out. Everyone's got their one thing.
That's right.
We just have to figure out what your one thing is. So I think you just start, like you said, you got to teach them how to think first, like a business person. And then they feel very comfortable with leverage and building a scalable business to fund the life that they desire.
Gotcha. I got a big question for you. You ready?
You were just eating on that one. You're eating on that one. Go for it.
Does HGTV and all of its exploitations of real estate, does it hurt or help our profession?
Help. For me, but I look at everything as an opportunity. The reason why I like it is because I ask the question, how can I be the HGTV in my local market? We already know the market's attracted to it. They love the stories that are told on TV. How can I tell a story in my local market where people watch me as HGTV in my local market? That's why I got big on Snapchat. And I started telling my stories. I started selling homes through Snapchat. Oh,
so now you got the wheel turning.
Yes.
Okay, so my next flip, you want to film it?
Well, here's the thing. I am talking to a lot of investors. No one's pulled the trigger on this yet of telling the story from where the house came from, maybe a little bit of the past seller if there's like an attractive story there, and then watching it put on makeup, like watching it become beautiful.
Got you.
And people aren't, at that time, they're so attracted to the story, the craftsmanship, everything you put in it, that you got the lighting from Rayford. You went and there's a small little film of like you shaking the hand of the Rayford guy, and like there's so much story and attraction in that.
Let me say this now. Let me interject with this.
Yeah.
I spent $250,000 at Lowe's last year.
Okay.
Between Lowe's on Skybo,
yes,
right here in Fayetteville,
yes,
and Lowe's on Rayford Road,
yes,
I spent $250,000 in supplies last year.
Okay, but what do those supplies do?
Going to the homes right here in Fayetteville that I rehab.
Sure. And then what did...
So a lot of the money does stay right here in Cumberland County.
Yes.
It's my point.
Yes. Okay.
You referenced the lighting company in Hope County. Most of my money stays right here in Cumberland.
Story needs to be told.
But even better, all of my money stays in the state of North Carolina, which I think is also important.
Right. Well, I mean, how cool is that I know that story moving into your house, you know, and that I know that's where the past seller had that celebration after they beat cancer. Like,
see, I never thought about how do we localize HGTV. So you gave me something to chew on. I never looked at it like that.
Who's moving into that market too? I can't tell you how many times I've pitched that idea and no one's executing on it. No. Why can't someone, when someone says, hey dude, like I know you're into real estate, like which investor should I talk with or whatever? I say, hey, watch your show. Watch that show. Just watch it. Tell me if that's something that you'd be interested in. So not only do you attract people to your story to sell more homes, you also start attracting talent into your business as well.
Gotcha.
So, but then I was pulling the trigger. And yes, keep it localized, man. There's riches in the niches, right? And you stick to that niche and you throw it all in. Right. And go podcast, dude. Go podcast. This whole thing's going audio. There's smart homes coming out. When someone comes in, you know.
You seen the one on Tom Starling Road? You seen it?
No, but I know it's good. Like, I know.
It's one on Tom Starling Road.
Of course.
Yeah, they got the open house going.
Really? Yeah, so, I mean, what is it? I think I do know that one. I think I even know the listing agent. Okay. But as a matter of fact, he's coming out with a podcast. He said I'd be the first person on this podcast. So you just got to come out with that dang podcast. But like, what's it going to look like when you forget the bread, right? And you walk into your house and you're like, so-and-so order the bread. Right. And it's going to order it for you. So what happens when you move into an area, you got a little gist of what it's like, but you want to know about tax season's coming around. And you're like, tell me what tax services I got around here. You want it to pull your information. The only way it's going to pull your information is if you start pushing audio now. Got you. And the stories that are going to be told behind now I know you're going to be out in 2 years, but that's just an example. Right? And it's going to tell a little bit of story, who you are. And if you were able to give some value through audio, it's going to say presented by your business. Just, it's all give. Your name just gets to be attached to it.
Gotcha.
That's one of the reasons why I moved into podcasting too.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I answered your question, man.
Yeah, of course you did, man. That's awesome.
Did I?
Awesome. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything
How do
else
we
on that?
localize HGTV? See?
100% with a free platform,
I got to
Snapchat.
think about that.
Which don't move to Snapchat now. It is a dying platform.
I've never even been on there,
Yeah.
so I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's a storytelling platform. It is dying. I mean, if you're going to go anywhere, go Instagram. I mean, there's
never been on there either,
dude. Instagram stories. I'm getting so much. I walked into the bank the other day.
But see, that's why I don't want to learn. I'd rather just partner with Ruben and you handle all the social media.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do what I do best. I'm the Michelangelo of flipping.
Yeah.
So let me do what I do best.
Yes.
You come in, you do what you do best.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to reinvent any wheels.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. And I have a lot of people ask me that. So what does it look like if I work with a few people, brand it, proven by Ruben, and say, yeah, you know what, I have that actually. And what would it look like if I partner you with my team over here that would do an excellent job to tell your story? God, man, dude, I'm not. There's so many I stick my hands into through leverage. I just haven't done it. It's a great idea, though. Great idea. What question do you have for everyone listening? And we'll end on that.
What the hell are you waiting on? Get in real estate. Every day's a good day to buy real estate.
Yep.
I say that 1,000 times. Every day's a good day to buy real estate.
And marijuana.
If it's fear, think about this. You got the internet. You got a plethora of knowledge. You got the internet. You got books. You got podcasts. You got mentors. Start today. So whatever reason you keep telling yourself that's causing you to wait, get over yourself, be bigger than your situation, and jump into real estate.
Couldn't agree more. Where can they find you at?
They can find me at, I'm not big on the internet, but I do like talking to people. So I'm going to give you my email address and I'm going to give you my office phone number.
Sure.
My email is rajjservices@yahoo.com. My office phone number is 910-487-3007.
Awesome. So reach out to him. If there's anything he could do for you, I'm sure he might say no to you. He already said he would. But there might be something that you guys can work on. If you like this podcast, then you need to subscribe because there's more to come. So please subscribe. Thanks so much for coming today, brother.
It was an honor being here.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Ruben.
Yes, sir. Thank you.